Hi, my name is Mark, and you may think this is a little bit weird if you will regularly watch my videos, because as you can see we're back to the series where I compose a song and show you guys my process, and usually that's a Friday video. Mondays are usually for guitar lessons, and Wednesdays are usually for Guitarist Week videos, but because we're approaching the holidays and I've got a couple of gigs going on, it's that time you should spend with family really, and I've been doing these tri-weekly videos for a while, and it's not like I'm not having fun, but it definitely takes a lot of time to record and edit those videos, even though I don't really do those crazy edits, but still. So I decided, okay, let's just do a little bit of a break. Maybe some of you will miss these videos, I'm not really sure, maybe not. But hey, whatever, I think we'll be back January the 13th, I think? It really depends, but basically I'll be back, don't worry. But I decided, okay, before I stop making videos and do this little break of ours, let's just finish the song, because as you may have seen in the previous episode, again, if you haven't watched the other episodes, I highly suggest you do. I'll leave the playlist with all the episodes in the card section right there. But basically, I think I mentioned it in some other videos, but I'll mention it again. Because this song is pretty much finished, we just need to do the last section of it, which I'm hoping we'll do today. Not only can we finish the series, and then when we come back in January, we can start the series where we record this thing and produce it and make a full song out of it, but also because this song actually has some intricate parts that I'm honestly not sure how to play. I need to learn them. I guess I'll have a little bit of time to learn the song, or at least learn the harder parts. But hey, we'll figure that out later. For now, let's just finish the song. Again, for those who haven't really watched it, again, I mentioned it before, we're mostly at the ending here. I'm thinking of maybe doing this last chorus. Maybe we can end it with this like big boom or something like it. I'm not really sure. But hey, for those who don't really remember how the song goes or haven't watched the other episodes, let me just play you this from the beginning and you can check out what we're working with. Okay, so that's what we're working with mostly. And again, like I mentioned before, I'm thinking of doing a chorus after this part. I think it will be nice kind of to give the listener that satisfactory feeling of like, okay, we've came from this really heavy and kind of dense section, then we can end up in the chorus and finally end the song and end our journey back home, I guess. And again, I already have some ideas. I don't just want to copy and paste the last chorus and put it here, and I'll get to it, don't worry. But before I do, I just want to say, please subscribe to my channel. As you're probably aware, YouTube acts a little bit weird. Even if you subscribe to a channel, those channels' videos may really not show up in your subscription box, and even if you ring the little notification bell thingy below, you still really will not be notified of that channel's content. So if you want to stay tuned to my videos, not only do I suggest subscribing and turning on all the notifications, but also following me on social media. Again, not only do I post some exclusive stuff there, like improvised solos and jamming for backing tracks, and generally wherever I'm up to at the moment, but I always post about my videos. Again, the links for usual suspects will be below, but in general at Martin Rich Guitar. And again, because I'm taking this little break, I guess, if you want to stay tuned to what I'm doing and what sort of music related stuff I'm working on, you'll definitely get access to that stuff there. So yeah, go follow me on Instagram and all the other platforms, I guess. Like I mentioned before, they're in the description below. And since you're done there, please consider leaving a like and share this video on social media. I highly appreciate it. But getting back to the video itself, like I mentioned before, I'm thinking of maybe doing a chorus next, but I don't feel like we should just go from this part and enter the next part. Dun, 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 dun. We should maybe have a pause like. Kind of delaying that surprise hit a little bit. In a way, sort of like those fireworks that when you light them up, they go real high and then they go dark, and then only after a couple of seconds do they actually light up and explode. Sort of the same thing here. So let me just get the main chorus part thingy and we'll see what we can work with. And for that little pause, I think that maybe a regular 4/4 bar will be enough. Sort of like this. I just remembered something cool, which is that last note, maybe instead of it being like the last note of this bar, it should maybe be the first note of the next bar. Maybe a little bit weird, but I'll explain it, I guess. I'll play it first with the metronome and then without the metronome, so those of you who struggle a little bit with rhythms can figure out what I was mentioning. I was honestly not sure how we should do it, but I think it works better like this, and it adds a little bit of extra tension, I guess. Which again, we're building up this part to be a super tense part so that we can then resolve to the chorus. And again, that's a pretty big deal. It's not all the time that we get to the chorus. Okay, so I just got this melody like an octave up, just because I think it sounds better. Again, it's not really that much of a big deal. It's not like I'm going to play exactly what's here and in these registers or something like it. But hey, just for convenience sake. And I decided to add, instead of it just going like 1, 2, 3, 4, I thought it might be interesting to do this little like anticipation thingy right here. Because again, for those who don't really remember, this sort of anticipation thingy, that's the exact same rhythm thingy that we do for these other parts, like, or this one. We always do these 2/16 notes to get into the first part. So I guess it sounds cool. And again, I think that we shouldn't really mess with the first part of the chorus. Maybe do like a simpler version first. Like, after all, we're getting back to the chorus. We're getting sort of back to where we started, and we'll start out with the chorus, but you get what I mean, I guess. I think that maybe we should serve the listener what he actually wants, and then after it we can get a little bit more spicy, and I already have this idea that I think may be interesting.
20 minutes later.
Okay, so we've actually done a couple of stuff here, and it's something that I'm not sure what you guys think, but I'll play it to you first and I'll explain it later. Okay, so we're going to come from this last section here. Okay, so there's some stuff going on, and again, we'll talk about the ending here. I'm thinking that maybe some of you will not like the ending, but hey, let's get back to the beginning here. Okay, so the first part, again, I explained this little callback thingy, where we use one of the main motifs of the main riff to get into the chorus. And the first chorus, it's pretty much standard. It doesn't really have many variations. Again, I know that playing it here on MuseScore, just like this, without any other stuff, it doesn't really gather enough energy to get from this part. And then when it comes to the chorus and it just goes like this, it sort of dies a little bit, even though it may not sound perfect. Again, this is just sort of like a sketch thing. It's not supposed to be perfect. It is just supposed to give this like brief idea of what we're working with. And again, this part is pretty standard. It's just a normal chorus, just like the other ones, I mean. And when we get to this part is when it changes a little bit. Okay, so again, there's a little bit of stuff going on, and it might sound a little bit scary to some of you, but it's not really that much. We start out with the chorus just the same way as it was before. I was thinking that the melody should maybe do this, like, I call it the stop and start arpeggios. It's something I like to do on guitar, and I think I've made a video about it before, but if I haven't, I'll do it later. If you think about the arpeggios to Wonderful Sleeper thing, that little tapping arpeggio that he does after the first chorus where he goes, it has these little stops. It's not like a machine gun where it goes, but it's an interesting concept, really. You can have a lot of notes, but not just play them at the same speed, but that's basically what I did in this section. I was thinking of the scalar run like, and it's probably pretty similar to some others that we did before. I think this one is just C natural minor. But again, instead of me doing taka taka ta, I decided to do ta taka ta ta. And then when I started to audiate it, I was also thinking of this offbeat rhythm that we have this little part of. And I decided, okay, maybe we should try to combine both of them, and we got this. The only part that sounds a little bit weird is that we usually have 8th notes with a 16th note pause between them. And when we come to the 3rd 8th note, we usually start that rhythm again. But in here, instead of us having those 3 8th notes with a 16th note in between them, we only have 2. Here we have an 8th note, a 16th note pause, and then another 8th note, and we get back to that rhythm. So it's a little bit shorter than our other ones, and it kind of sounds odd when I listen to it the first time, but in my head, not only does it sound cool, but thematically it also works, because if you think about it, after this part we're finishing the song. And this part is a chorus, which is sort of one of the main parts of the song. And like I mentioned before, by us ending with the chorus, and the chorus being not really the first riff, but one of the first riffs that we play in the song, thematically it's like this journey where you started in home, you left, you did some stuff, you learned some stuff, and you came back home. And even though, again, you came home, you came to just where you started, because you went on a journey, you learned some things, and you're not the same guy anymore. So it's the same thing thematically with this part. Even though it's sort of the same thing we used to do before with that offbeat rhythm thingy, we sort of modified it a little bit to fit in with what we learned, so that it fits in well with the melody we have. And the chords in this part are actually kind of interesting. Give it a little bit of a happier vibe, I think, because in this bar right here, we kind of move from that harmonic minor, Hungarian minor sort of a thing, to a natural minor sound. We start out with the 6th chord, which is that A flat major chord, and one of the chords that comes next is that E flat major chord. And going from the A flat major chord to an E flat major chord is sort of that plagal cadence sort of a thing. But we're not just doing a plagal cadence, we're actually doing a minor plagal cadence. Sort of that Beatles thing of going from C major, C minor, G major. And like I mentioned, that A flat major goes to an A flat minor, which resolves to an E flat major. And then that E flat major goes to its 5th chord, which is that B flat major. And then I took that B flat major, and I did the G major sort of a thing. Because again, it sort of depends on the inversion that you're doing, but going from a B flat major to a G major, it sort of does this chromatic walk line thing, which I think sounds cool. And again, it takes us well to that section that we had before of the, which is based on G major. And again, this little part right here, having this sort of, I mean, it's weird to say, but having this sort of pop song chord structure sort of gives a little bit of a different taste to our song. And again, it's something that I don't really think would fit well if we did it on the beginning of the song, especially because we have some darker tones. Like in the first verse, it's pretty dark because we're ending the song and we just came back home and we learned a lot of stuff and we're applying a lot of stuff that we learned from our journey. I think it fits in well, and you can compare this part to this part because they're pretty much the same. Again, the chords changed a little bit, but it's pretty much that same sort of G major, G augmented sort of a thing. But in this case, the melody goes up, and in this case, the melody goes down. And theoretically, because the last bar was us pretty much going down all the time, even though some rules would say, oh, you should go up on the next bars so that you get this sort of contrary motion sort of thing. But I thought, okay, because after this we're just going to play the chorus in its unaltered form just for the last time. I think that maybe instead of us going up, we should maybe descend so that we fit in right into the chorus again and we can finish our song. So we come from this part. But then I started to think, well, I mean, we could just end it with a boom, like dun 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 dun. But I wasn't really feeling it. Then I thought, okay, maybe we can sort of do that Phrygian backdoor resolution of, if again, because we're in C minor, if we have a G major, sort of that shape Phrygian dominant sort of a thing, instead of us resolving to a C minor, we can maybe resolve to an A flat major. And that's what I did here. We went from this little part of G major, G augmented, that sort of thing, you know. And this is again an A flat major chord. And that's a melody that's pretty much following the chord progression. We're using notes of the C minor scale, and then we finish the song. We go back to that G major, G augmented sort of a thing, so that we can resolve to C minor. Well, in this case we don't yet resolve to C minor, and we do this pause with a G major. And again, this chord is just a G major, we're just switching the melody note from the root to the third, and because the major third is such a wide interval, it actually adds a little bit of tension, which again I think works well with trying to finish the song. And then we end with those low C notes, and then I was thinking of cool chords to end the song with, and because we're in that sort of C minor, C harmonic minor sort of thing, I thought, okay, we need to do this sort of C minor chord, but I want the minor sixth in there. I want to really get the darker sound. Then I thought, okay, maybe because we alter things around and we do things here and there, maybe instead of me ending in a C minor, maybe we can do that Hendrix thing of doing like this major sharp 9 chord, which even though in the case of the Hendrix chord, it is a major chord, it's a dominant 7th chord, and it has that minor third in there, which is not a minor third, it's a sharp 9th, but whatever. And I thought, okay, maybe we can do this in this chord as well. So before we get to this half note right here, we get the C's in the bass, E flat, giving us our minor third of C minor. We get an A flat, which is again that minor 6th that I wanted to add. We have a C, which is just the root again, just an octave up. We have a G, the 5th. Then we have that D, and another E flat. Again, the E flat being the 3rd, and the D being the 9th. So you got the sort of C minor 9, flat 13. And I decided it would be cool to arpeggiate it like that. And here is where we get that sort of Hendrix thing, because I thought, okay, because we're in sort of that C minor, C Hungarian minor, C melodic minor, C harmonic minor, all of those scales have a major 7, and the major 7 of C is that B, so I decided, okay, maybe we can have this low B in here, and it will add an extra tension. Again, the Hendrix chord, that dominant 7th sharp 9 chord, has a dominant 7th, our chord is going to have a major 7. Again, that sort of C minor major 7 chord is a really specific sound, but I think it fits in well with the thematics of the song. And then I thought, okay, maybe we can add that major third in there, and having the major third rub off with the minor third and get this sort of dissonant sort of a thing. But now this chord is a little bit of a bitch to name, like I mentioned before, because if we didn't really have that D over there, the 9th, we could just call this like a C major 7 at 9 flat 13, but because we have the D, which is the regular 9th, and we have an E, which is a major third, and we have an E flat, which is a minor third, the way that would sort of work, I guess, again, I would need to rearrange some of the notes, we could sort of call it like the C minor major 7 at 9 flat 11 flat 13, but let's be honest, does anybody really care about that? I don't really think you do. Just think about it like this, it's a C minor chord, but we add the 9th, so that's sort of police message in a bottle chord with that minor 6th added in there, so it's a C minor at 9 flat 13, again, it's a pretty standard minor chord, it's one of the fancier voicings, but still, and then we have those extra spice notes like the B, which is the major 7, and the E, which is the major 3rd, or maybe like an F double flat, which would be the flat 4th or the flat 11th, but again, don't really need to worry about that. But basically we have this big ass chord. Sounds thick. And again, I think it fits in well with the part that we had before. I mentioned before that this chord maybe isn't a chord for everybody, and it's weird to explain it thematically, because if you think about it, before when I talked about the chorus and that little extra part in the 5/4 bar, I talked about us leaving home and then returning home with some new knowledge that we then can apply in our own lives. And that's the same thing with the song. Even though we kind of started with the chorus, now we're ending with the chorus, but the chorus is slightly different, slightly altered, slightly modified, however you want to talk about it, because we've learned some things and we've applied new things that will change the chorus. It's not necessarily better or worse, it's just different. And by ending with this dissonant chord, even though you might think, oh, it sounds dissonant, it's not really a happy ending for somebody who just lived home and went back home and learned some new things. It sort of finishes in a low note. It's not really a nice ending. And again, it's just my opinion, but I think that, well, that's life, really. Yeah, sure, you venture into your own life and you learn new things and you experience new things, and the way you learn and perceive things will be different depending on the things that you experience. Well, it's the same thing here. Even though we apparently ended with a C minor at 9 flat 13, which is an appropriate chord for this song, when we add that major 7 in there and that flat 11 or major 3rd, however you want to talk about it, in our journey outside of home, we've probably learned some things that sort of conflict with what we knew before. And that's probably some things that leave us thinking like, well, should I have done that? Should I do that? Should I not do that? Is that the correct thing to do? Is that not the correct thing to do? Again, I don't really want to get philosophical, but for me, that's the meaning of this chord. So yeah, I mean, even though we'll record it later and produce some other things and add some other things to the song that may require us to change some things around, for me, the song is finished. I think it was an interesting journey. Again, like I mentioned in the other videos, this song, because I've been doing it in a way that I don't usually do. Again, when I try to write a song or I have some ideas laying around, I usually do it pretty quickly, and I guess in a couple of days or in a couple of hours if I'm lucky, because I've been composing this song every week, a little bit every week, and I don't really touch it when I'm not recording a video. It took a little bit of extra time, and I guess creatively it may have brought me into a different direction. Again, it sort of fits in well with the thematic of the song. Even though it's something that you're used to doing, like you leave home every day probably, but every time you leave home, you probably learn some new things, right? Okay, so what about I play you the whole song and then we finish the video. This will also be my first time reacting to the whole song, so I'm kind of hoping that it doesn't really sound that bad. I'll be honest with you, I was expecting a lot worse because, like I mentioned to you before, even though I'm writing the song, because I'm confident that the way I connect parts usually is good, I usually think, okay, even if the song sounds a little bit weird in this part or in that part, it will mostly fit in together because the parts are well connected. It's not just like, okay, riff 1, then riff 2, then riff 3. You usually have these bridges between riffs or these connecting parts that usually blend in together. Again, this for me is what I would consider like a sketch, and then what we're going to do in the continuation of this series, we're going to do like a demo out of it. And then after we do a demo, we can see how I can turn it into a real song. And by continuing to develop the song and add some extra stuff, that's where the song mostly comes together. Again, the song is fine like this. We'd probably add some rhythmical diversity to this part, like for instance we could arpeggiate the chorus or do some like rhythm with the chords or something like it. But overall, I'd give this song, I don't really think it's one of my best ones, but I'd give it like, I don't know, like in this state, like a 6.5, maybe a 7 out of 10. And I think that if we produce it well and we don't really rush it, because that's a problem with producing songs, which is if you rush it many times it will sound weird, I think we can get the song to maybe like an 8 or 8.5 maybe. I think this song has the potential. But again, tell me what you guys think, and like I mentioned in all of these videos, if there's something that I explained that you didn't really quite get or that you thought was a little bit odd, please leave it in the comment section below, and I'll either respond to you in the comments or I'll address it in next week's video. Not only that, but like I usually mention in these sorts of videos, if you want to take either a part of this song, like a riff or a melody or even the whole song, and try to do it yourself, please do, and post it on Instagram or YouTube and tag me on it, because I'd really like to see and share what you guys can come up with. But overall, yeah, I guess that's it. Again, if you enjoyed the song, please tell me so, or if you didn't enjoy it, please tell me so. Don't just leave it dislike, like, oh, this guy sucks, I'm going to leave it dislike. Please check out some of my other videos after this one. Again, unless you're like a super huge fan, which I wouldn't really recommend you being, you probably haven't checked out all of my other videos, so since I'm going on this little holiday break, even if you miss me a lot, which I doubt it, let's be honest, you can definitely check out some of my other videos. I not only do these composing videos, talking about songwriting and composing and stuff like that, but I also do guitar lessons because I'm a guitar player, so go check those out if you're into it. And yeah, I guess that's it. Thank you so very much for watching. Don't forget to leave a like, comment, subscribe, turn on all the notifications, follow me on social media, and if you can, share this video on social media, I'd highly appreciate it. And let's be honest, I've been probably rambling until now, so before I bore to death the ones of you who've kept watching till now, let's just end it with this. Cheers!